Oh, let's get right to it. Middle of yeah. Um, we have a minion on yet?
No,
Right
we have
now,
eight.
there's 700 Seattle.
We have what? What do you say?
I'm with 700 people, so yes, do we have a minion?
Yeah. Okay, so let's get rolling. I guess we're gonna start without the minion. I gave enough warning, right? It was 5 minutes ago once I texted.
10 minutes ago.
10 minutes ago. Okay, so the Zikr could start. Um. Okay, we're on the bottom of Mem of a base. Right? We no. Where are we? Vav, yes, thank you. Vav on the base. Okay, so we continue with the Chalipin with Kesef. So Zok the Gemara, Amar Rav Huna, Machar li be'elu. A guy walks over to his friend, or whoever, an acquaintance, and he says to him, sell me this item, and I'll sell it, I'll buy it from you for this bag of coins. And he just says, Machar li be'elu. He had no idea. The seller had no idea how much money was in there. So and he agreed to it. So Kana. So then the guy is kainet on Tamar Aleph. And if there's not enough money in the bag to justify the price, which means that the buyer ripped off the seller, then that's Aina. Meaning we're used to Aina being that the seller rips off the buyer. There's Aina where the buyer also rips off the seller. If the buyer doesn't pay enough, he also has a problem. So if the money in the bag is less than a sixth of what the item is worth, then there's Aina. And then
You
the
can't
guy's
buy
gonna
something at auction.
if the guy's willing to accept the price, then it's fine.
Oh,
The
okay,
chayra.
fine.
The truth is, I'm saying that's not so pashut either. That's
No.
not so pashut either. And we have to see exactly how auctions work. But here the guy was trying to do a sell. He held up a bag of coins. He said, okay, it's within the range. But if it wasn't in the range, then it's not right. Right? Kana afagav the loy moshach, and he's kind of it, even though he didn't do mashicha. Right? Meaning he didn't. Let's say he was buying a chveis, he was buying a shirt. So he gave him a bag of coins for the shirt. He didn't, and he never picked up the shirt. He's still kind of to keep it the loy kapid, because the seller was not makbid. Just a bag of coins. Anna said then it's kind of the chalipin dummy. It's the same thing as chalipin, right? Meaning, what does that mean? It's the same thing as chalipin. Chalipin, what's basically like with the mechiras chametz, right? The rabbi is giving you a pen or a yarmulke, in exchange giving the chametz. That's not an equal exchange. It's not an equal exchange. The guy knows it's not an equal exchange, but he does it anyways because it's a chalipin, right? So we say the key chalipin dam. It's like chalipin. And but there's oina. The macharli be'elu kamarle. He said, sell it to me for this, right? So mamela, it's also a sale. That's the first version. Rav Abba Amar Rav Huna, but Rav Abba said in Rav Huna, macharli be'elu kana ve'ein lo he's kaina and there's no aina, right? Meaning just because he says macharli doesn't mean it's a real mechira. Fine. So that's two different days, whether there's a na on this thing or not. Everybody holds the mechira is certainly a mechira. Question is there a na or not? So the Gemara says pshita, damim ve'ein makbid alein. Right. So if there's money, but he's not makbid, oh, kamrin the kani, because if it was money in the bag and the seller was clearly not makbid, so then it's like chalip. Chalipin umakbid alein mai. But what happens if it's chalipin and he's makbid? Which is very interesting. Meaning the guy who's taking the shmata says, you know what? This shmata is not I don't want. That's not. It's not expensive enough for me to do chalipin. All right. Meaning he wants the item that he's using. Imagine a guy comes to sell us chametz. He says, "I'm selling you $100,000 worth of schnapps, and you're gonna hold up a dinky little disposable pen, right? Yeah, you hold up your smartphone at least, or something like that." So that's the Gemara Shaila. Why a guy would have such a kpeda, I have no idea. But that's the Gemara Shaila. If the guy is makpid on what the chalipin is worth, does that nix the whole thing? That's the Gemara Shaila. Somewhere we'll see more on the base. Someone about the Bava told Shema Reish Typhus Perosiv. If a guy's holding onto his para and he's standing there in the street. And the guy, his friend comes to him and says, "What are you doing with this cow?" Right? I don't know if it's what or why. From Rashi, it sounds like, why did he bring it to the shuk? Right? So the chamar on Yitzhak, the guy said, "I needed a chamar, so I brought my parag and I'm going to swap it out." So the guy tells him, "Yeshli chamar shani nasilach. I have a chamar, I'll give it to you. Parascha bekama, and how much is your parag? It's worth this and this. Mar bekama, and he says, "How much is your chamar? Bekach, it's worth this and this." So Moshe Pala Chamar Sapara. So then they decide that they're going to do this deal, and the Bala Chamar, the donkey owner, went and pulled the para. And but before the Bala Para was able to pull the Chamar died. So basically, what this turned into was a chalipin, right? Because only one party pulled the animal that he wants to buy. So like kind of Bala Chamar is a para, we say the Bala Chamar is not kind of the para. Shma mina chalipin umakbid alein loikana. So we hear from this that chalipin, where somebody is makbid on it, is not kaina, right? Because from here, meaning what happened here, each one asked each other, how much is your animal worth, how much is your animal worth? And then it turned into a chalipin. So that chalipin is, since they discussed prices, that means they're makbid on each other, right? And since the chamar died, so then the chalipin was no good. So you see that chalipin, if one party or the other is makbid on the chalipin, then it doesn't meet the requirements of the chalipin, then it's no good. So Marava atu chalipin b'shuftani askina deloy kapti. Are we talking about fools? We had this a few blot ago. This lashon, right? Meaning, is a guy going to be makna something that's really not worth it? Just because you're saying that just because you agree to pick a yarmulke up, that means that you don't care about the pricing of what each animal's worth? That what is meaning? We thought that maybe these two animals swapping a par of a chamar, so we're makbid on the price. It has to do with chalipin. It doesn't have to do with chalipin. The chalipin could have been whatever it is. Nobody wants to take big losses. Elakol chalipin mikbid kati v'kana. Right? Every time somebody does a chalipin, people are makbid. Right? Of what it is that what are we talking about? We're talking about where he said, "I'm going to give you a chamar for the para and a tle." Right? It's another one of those player to be named laters. Right? I'm giving you a chamar and a para, but I'm throwing in the tle, right? That little sheep. Right? I'm throwing it in there. Umashach is a para, and he pulled the para.
The sheep is Brock Purdy.
I don't know if I get that one.
He's the starting quarterback for San Francisco. He was the last guy drafted 2 years ago. He played in the
that's the sheep.
Played in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't chop. So anyway, so he pulled the par, he didn't pull the tle. So lo yahavalei meshicha ma'alya was not a legitimate meshicha. Right? So since it was not a legitimate meshicha, because he didn't pull both animals, so therefore that's why the kinyan didn't work. But we have no proof if a guy's makbid on the value of the chalipin, if it's a good kiddush, if it's a good chalipin or not. Fine. The other one says, Omar Mar, Macharli be'elu, Kana v'yesha lavayno. So we said again, if the guy tells him, using our example, he holds up a bag of coins and he swaps it out he says, "I'm going to buy the shirt off you for the bag of coins." And the guy says, "Fine." So we said there is a kinyan, but he has ayna on it. So then L'chaira, Rameir holds that a matpeya makes a chalipin, right? Because how else is the kinyan working? The guy has no idea how much money it is. And Rav Huna himself said that it has to do with chalipin. So my answer is like Rav Huna Savar like Rav Yochanan. He holds like Rav Yochanan. Damar Tvar Torah Mois Koines. Right, we had this yesterday's stuff. We're going to have it on Amid Beis again. That Minat Torah money is kind. Meaning when I give somebody money, I'm kainet. Why did we say that Mashiach is kaina? Right, meaning why do you need to do a Mashiach? Because we're afraid that he might tell the guy who's buying it, your wheat got burned in the upstairs. All right, remember again, we're worried that if a guy just buys, using the example of eBay, so a guy sells something on eBay to somebody, he gets the credit card payment, he's got the money, and now a fire breaks out in his house. The last thing he's going to save is the thing that he sold on eBay because he already has the money. So the Chachamim were afraid of that. So the Chachamim said, okay, the kinyan is not a legitimate kinyan until the buyer actually picks it up. That was Gzeira D'Rabbanan.
So why do we not have the same issue with Gabi Khalifa?
What do you mean?
Why Rabbi Yochanan says the Rabbanan were geyser on money because we're worried that this is chitach ba'aliyah. So therefore, you need to have everyone needs to have everyone needs the whole transaction has to transpire.
Why not be to have the same concern? Why not have the same concern?
Chalipin would create the exact same problems.
L'chaira, yes.
If I take a sudar and then you're kind of the para or the wheat in the aliyah, then you have the same issue.
Right. Fair enough. Yes, I'm not sure. It's a good question.
Is that the Gemara on the base, or that's a different one?
What, the Gemara on the base with I'm not sure. Let's wait till we get to the base because the Gemara is going to analyze this whole limud.
Right.
And I think that I don't know if the Gemara on the base will answer this question, but the truth is, let's wait till we see. So anyway, so milsa d'shricha goes with Rabbanan, something that's common, meaning a regular buying and selling is a common thing. So therefore, the Chacham said we're going to make our gzeira that the kinyan doesn't work until the buyer picks it up. Fine. But if it's a transaction is not common, the Rabbanan are not going to make the gzeira. So just like yesterday we said that a transaction where a guy can't pay back his para, so then he just says, you know what, he can't pay money for the ox. So he says, just take my para, which is an uncommon transaction. So this is also an uncommon transaction. Somebody holding up a bag of coins and giving it to a guy and saying, here, I'm buying this off of you, is an uncommon transaction. So therefore, the Chachamim were not misakin anything, and therefore the kesef does work.
Why do they have to make a share for something that's shlichi? Now, what I don't understand.
It's a legal. I would say it's just a technical. I know you don't like when we say that, but that seems like it's just a technical thing, which is that if it's not shchiach, the Rabbanan just didn't say that.
No, but why did they make the thing where it's shchiach? What do they care?
You mean bichlal? Why do Chachamim care?
Yeah, let the market be itself. You know?
I would think you would ask stronger. Why not say if the Chachamim were concerned, what's the difference if it's common or it's not common?
Well, yeah.
Right. So I think the answer to that is, or to maybe to your question, I'm not sure, is that the bottom line is Chachamim are playing with the Torah here. I hate to say it like that. You don't say, right?
Well, Tiago, the Torah also
it
gave
looks like they want the economy to
hefker.
function a certain way. So they're doing it. They don't have any riots from the Torah. They're so good, and so they're I'm a shayfet, so I'm doing what I want to do.
Well, I would assume that the Rabbanan were Aimek the Das B'nai Adam and said this case is something that we have to worry about in order to keep the markets flowing. Meaning, if everyone's going to have Tainus and everyone else, because this is and that type of hezek that goes on, they're Yerid L'Saif Titan Shel B'nai Adam, and they knew this would be a problem in the general klal of Mekach Memkar. So he said that is shchiach. We want to make sure the markets don't get messed up because of it, but something that's low shchiach, we're going to stay away from. That's the whole din of Hefker, Bezin Hefker. The Torah gave them wide latitude to do what they need to do when it comes to Mamanis, the Kedinim.
Right, but
Following public
Correct, but
policy.
They were doing something that they thought the market needed. Why, look at what the Fed does when it comes to, making sure, trying to save the market all the time. They were trying to establish a market that doesn't fall apart so that people could exchange goods properly and there won't be tightness on each other. So they decided this is something that is shchiach enough that we don't want it to, mess up transactions.
Well, is that the pshat? Okay, but no, but we say this by every gzeira derabbanan, by milsa de la shchicha.
Correct,
right?
But it's kol shekain over here.
And it's a rule. I mean, it's a rule that the chum. So I think the way I understand it in my little brain is that I don't want to start off with the if it's something that's not common. Like what he was saying. I mean, if it's something common, a common concern, so the chum have to be worried about it. If it's not a common concern, then the chum don't want to. They're going to leave it alone. That's what I think. Okay, but I'm not sure. Fine. So Amar Le Marhuna, Breder Rav Nachman Rabashi, Asan Hachi Masnidus Law. You learned it that way. Meaning we don't know whether he says that you can use a currency as chalipin. Anan Hachi Masnidus Law. We learned B'chein Amar Rav Huna Ein Matbei Nasa Chalipin. We have Beferish. We have I guess it's a Messiah or whatever it is. We know that Rav Huna held that there's no chalip, there's no shaila, there's no chalip with coins. Now the Gemara gets back to the side of chalipin. What can you use for chalipin? So, as we all know, the story of Rus and Bayaz. So there was plenty of Almighty, who was supposed to be the one to be paid of the fields of Rus, right? But he refused to do it. So Bayaz was the next one in line. So basically, what Bayaz did is that he did a kinyan chalipin with his shoe to Pliny Almighty, and that's how he was kind of the lands. That's basically what the story was. So that's where we learn out the whole concept of chalip. There's going to be multiple machlokes exactly how it went down. So or what it was used with. So b'mekainen, what can you use? I mean, how does the kinyan chalipin work? So Rav Amar b'keilah shel. Rav says, and this is the way we paskin, the one purchasing is the one that gives the shmata, that gives the chalipin. Meaning, by the mechiras chametz, the rabbi gives his yarmulke because he's essentially like the purchaser, even though that's not really what he's doing by mechiras chametz, but it's styled after that. So he's giving his yarmulke or his pen, and because he's the purchaser, and the seller gives over his chametz. Right? That's Rav. The nichale lekaina the levi makna kaina, because it's nicha for the kaina that the makna should give it over. The ligmar of a lignilai, so that it'll be finished and it'll be able to be kaina. The Levi Amar Bekelev shel makna. No, the one giving it, which would mean that by mechiras chametz, the one coming to the Rav will give over his yarmulke or his pen. Like we're going to say further, which is very interesting. How rare is that for the Gemara to say? We're going to discuss it soon, right? Fine. So that's the machlokes Rav and Levi. Whose yarmulke do you give? Whose suda do you give? Some of the Ravuna Mediskara, the Rav or the Levi, the Amar Kelev Shel Makna. According to Levi, who says that the kinyan works with the Kelev of the Makna. Basically, what's going on is he's being kinda. You can potentially be kinda land with a shirt. Right? Right, land is always called nechasim sheyesh lamachrayis because if somebody owes somebody money and he sold land, that land can go back from the buyer. The buyer will have to give back the land to the one who's owed the money. So that's achrayis. But anything movable that has no achrayis, and once it's sold, it's sold. So it's nechasim sheyesh lamachrayis, niknin im nechasim she'ein lamachrayis. But we learn the opposite. Nechasim that don't have achrayis are kind of with nechasim that have achrayis, which is exactly what's going to be going on with mechiras chametz. Basically, we've mentioned it a few times, was Kedai to mention it now again. When the rabbi is selling the chametz to the guy, so each rabbi sells, let's say, a closet or a room in his house to the guy, which is nechasim sheyesh lemachrayas, and agav that nechasim yesh lemachrayas, all the nechasim she'ein lemachrayas, which is people's chametz, gets purchased by the guy, right? But we don't do it the other way around. We don't give a guy chametz and say, hey, be kind of this chametz, and then you're going to be kind of real estate. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. It only works the other way. So how can you say here that you give, the seller gives over his yarmulke, and then the buyer's kind of the yarmulke and a field? It can't work that way. So Amar Leis, he told him back a sharp line. He have a Levi hach. If Levi would have been here, have a mapik la'apach pulsi denura. He would throw at you pulsi denura, sparks of denura of fire. Pulsi was the Yanam Beis, is actually like this round sparks of fire. Meaning he would be really upset that you could even think something like that about him. Misavas glima maknale. Do you think that he's giving him the yarmulke? That's what he's being mocked at him by. He hana the kamakabline. This, that he has a hana, that the guy who's buying it takes his yarmulke with that hana gomer ba'aknile. That's what makes the kinyan happen, right?
It's the opposite.
So
Did he
meaning
think
it's
in the
not,
Hava meeting they're actually kind of the Sudder?
that's what it seems. Well,
And that
you
would
are
only
kind
be
of,
he
then
would
give it
hold
back.
that only Lefi Levi.
Well,
What?
Lefi Levi is the one that's saying that the
I
is the one that
understand,
gives it over.
so he understood Rob. Rob he always understood as not, you're not actually kind of the Chavetz, or it's no shaykh. I'm saying I always, I mean, maybe that's the maskana, but I always thought that you're not actually kind of the actual sudder. It's just not that it's symbolic, but it's not that I'm being kind of the sudder and therefore you're being kind of something else.
I hear. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that how all these can work. You're saying, okay, I'm not. Is that? I'm saying, what happens if by Mechiras Chametz, I give the guy a pen and then the guy walks off with the pen? Now what? What happens then?
Well, is it really chalip in what you're doing at all?
Whatever. Let's say with the guy, you give the guy the thing, he walks off with the. Karada happened once by the Mechira. One of the Rabbanim was a little absent-minded, and the guy goes around with a handkerchief, right? Because he gives everybody a handkerchief, and this guy forgot that he has to give it back to him. He put it in his pocket. The guy tells him, "What are you doing?" Rabban, you know who this was? An older Chaim Berlin Eloi who used to hang on in Sheyashu sometimes. You could just you whatever. Yeah. So, anyways, he was nipped already a couple of years ago, but yeah, it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny when he did that. But that, I mean, that you couldn't. Then I once saw that he has to give it back, but I don't know where I got that from. That he has to give it back in order for it to work. I'm not sure. Anyways, so that's the machlokes. So again, there's a certain hana when somebody accepts something from you. There's a hana there. So with that hana, that's what he's giving. So he's basically giving him something over, right? Okay. I mean, it's sometimes like we say.
It could also be
Sometimes, yeah.
Depends which rabbanim are involved in Mechira. You want that, you have a chance to get that Rabbi Yashiv's pen.
I get right, yeah. That's what we had in Kedushin. That sometimes by the husband just accepting the thing from the wife, it's already enough of a chashivus. Right? That's where you can have what's the name of it? It's called. You can sometimes be kind by accepting somebody else's. By accepting chesed, you can be doing a chesed, right? Yeah, yeah. So that's what it's saying. Fine. So Gemara says Kitanoi. This whole thing is a machlokes tonight. Now here's the pasuk from Rus. This is something that was done before in Klai Yisrael. Alagula, Valatamura, on Gula, being goyal a field, which is what happened by Rus, Valatamura, and swapping things out. L'kayim kol davar, to be mekayim something, What do? Shlalaf ish nalai v'nasan l'reo. A person takes off his shoe and he gives it to his friend. Geula zu mechira. So geula, when it means to redeem something, it means to sell. V'cheinu oimer lo yigal. It says it shouldn't. You don't. It shouldn't be redeemed. That's talking about the pasuk by Ma'aser Behema. Right. Don't sell it. For Tamura zu chalipin, and Tamura means chalipin. V'cheinu oimer lo yichlifenu v'lo yamir oisai. Don't swap it out and don't do Tamura. Right, which I think they both sound like the same thing. Right. Okay, so Lakayim called Davar. What does it mean to be Makayim everything? Shala Bishnalim and Asanareya. Right, so he takes off his shoe and he gives it to his friend. Me Nasan Lami. So who gives the shoe to who? So Bayaz Nasan Lagayel. Bayaz gave his shoe to the Gayel, meaning the guy who was supposed to redeem the fields. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer Gayel Nasan Labayaz. And Yehuda says the guy gives it to Bayaz. So you see the Machlaikas Rav and Levi, who were Amayroyim, is the same as a Machlaikas Tanoim. Fine. Tana, Kainin Bekli. Right? A person is Kaina, you're Kaina Chalipin with a Kli. Amabi Shein B'Shava Pruta, even though it's not worth a Shava Pruta. Meaning, so if theoretically you use a little Shmata to do a Kinyan Chalipin, so it's fine. Amar Rabbi Nachman Lo Shanu Ela Bekli. That's only by a kli. You could do a kinyan by a kli. But peri loy, you cannot use fruit, even if it's a very expensive fruit. You cannot use fruit as chalipin. Sheshes amar afilu beperis. Rav Sheshes says you could do it with peris. My time with the Rav Nachman. So what's the reason for Rav Nachman why he says no peris? Because Amar Kron na loy, it says his shoe. No in midi achrini loy, only his shoe and not anything else. My time with the Rav Sheshes. Why does Rav Sheshes say you can? Amar kol l'kayim kol davar. It says you can be makayim anything, which is interesting because we'll see the Gemara Vayit. The Rav Nachman nami hoksiv l'kayim kol davar. The Rav Nachman it also says makayim everything. He says hahu l'kayim kol davar the nikne b'minol, which I understood as the pasha pshat, meaning when it says l'kayim kol davar means you can use a chalipin to do any sort of purchase. Right, it's not the Lakayim Kol Dover is not going on the yarmulke or on the handkerchief. It's going on the thing that you're purchasing. Right? Rav Sheshes nami haksiv naloy, and Rav Sheshes says, but it says naloy. Rav Sheshes man naloy davar masuyim. A shoe is something that's masuyim, meaning it's complete. Af kol davar masuyim, only something that's complete. Lafuke chatzi rimoin v'chatzi egois delay. You cannot do chalipin with a half a pomegranate or a half a egois.
Or you need two shoes then.
Is that so? Is that true? Is two shoes only a complete thing?
No.
You can't have one shoe?
I'm asking.
One foot only has one shoe.
Is it one shoe or two shoes then? If it has to be a complete item.
Remember, somebody who only has one leg, he has one shoe. Remember?
Right. So for that one person, that's a whole item.
What?
For a one-legged man, that's a whole item.
Yeah,
but
that's
for,
what it's. Yeah.
but for a two-legged man, is it one shoe or two shoes?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know.
Even for a one-legged man,
two shoes.
How does he buy shoes?
Gershon, as somebody from England, you shouldn't ask that question. And somebody with a sense of history, you should not ask that question.
Oh, because of
the shoemakers in England, World War I had baskets of different left shoes and right shoes. So many men came back crippled.
Interesting. I don't know. I always understood it as one shoe, but I don't know. Maybe it's two. I don't know.
I agree with you. I agree that it was null, like a shoe, but when it needs to be a whole item, but that's what the Gemara is teaching. I would think a whole item is a pair of shoes, not one shoe. But
I hear that. I never thought about it, to be honest with you. I know by chalitza, it's just one shoe. By chalitza, it's one shoe.
And it just means a davar shalom. I don't think it means you need a pair of something.
So what happens if the shoe's untied?
Who
Oh,
cares?
that should look like a shalom. That's probably
We're
shalom.
missing a heel.
Yeah. Like
Right,
Gemara
let's say-
says,
let's say the
"Lafuke
heel fell
Chafiriyim"
off.
or something.
Right. So let's say a heel fell off the shoe. So then what?
Yeah, maybe it wouldn't work.
Chalitza nowadays, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's a special shoe just designed for chalitza. It's not,
Yes.
they don't take the guy's shoe.
Correct.
And there's no
Right, but
heel
they
on
don't
it.
make two shoes.
Like
Yeah,
Rashi
right.
says,
I
"Shalom."
say, but they don't.
Chalitza is a whole different story.
Yeah.
That's a different.
No, but what's the word? What's the word by chalitza?
It's called the
No,
chalitza shoe.
Which word?
It says hanal. It doesn't say hanali.
No, but it's called base. It says right. It says base chalutz hanal.
Beis chalutz
So
hanal,
here it
yeah.
says na'aloi. Right. So here it's na'aloi. Okay, I don't know if it's a comparison or not. Okay, anyway, so that's a machlokes. Amar Rav Sheshes on the second line up from the bottom. Amar Rav Sheshes better read it. Keman kasivna idna. This is the contract that goes along with. This is the terminology of the contract that goes along with the chalip. So who is it like this lashon? The mana de kosher lemekanyebe, with a mana means a kli that it's kosher to be kind of with. The mana means lafuki midrav sheishis damar kind of a pera. So it says a mana. In the contract it says we're using a utensil, a kli. So that's coming to exclude of sheishis, who holds you can use fruit. Right? The kosher, what does it mean? The kosher lafuki midrav shmuel damar kainin on Tomei now kainin bimaruka. You could be kaina with a utensil made out of glale bakar, out of the feces, dried feces of I'm assuming it's dry, right? Of the glalim, I think by definition is dry, of a cow. Lemekanya, to be kind of something. Lafuke mid the Levi, Domer bekelev shel makna, comes to exclude Levi, who says use the kalim of the makna. Kamash malan lemekanya v'loy leknuye. So that's what it's coming to teach us, to be kind instead of to do it as how do you call it? A transfer. Yeah. Bay. What is it, bay? What's the word bay coming to tell us? It's coming to exclude a coin. So we're going through basically the whole last block to exclude all these things. It's coming to exclude Isurei Hana. Basically on Pesach, if you want to take a piece of chametz and use it as a chalipin, you wouldn't be able to. Right? Some say Ikadamri Bay. What does Bay come to teach us? The kosher. It's coming to exclude a coin that it's kosher. It's coming to exclude Isurei Hana. But you don't need the word in the star to exclude the cow feces, the dried out cow feces. You don't need a pasuk for
What?
that.
The man who says you don't have to burn chametz. Would he say it's, let's say pouring, covering with kerosene? Would you be able to use it then?
The what?
There's a man that says you don't have to burn it, just have to make it not usable. Not usable mean you can't use it for chalipin.
Which one are you saying that it's excluding? You mean
Takes a challah and he soaks it in kerosene. It becomes junk.
I hear.
But it still exists.
Yeah, I don't know. You mean it's I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay.
No, but
I
then
don't
what if?
understand the difference here. Well, go ahead. What are you saying, Avi?
No, but then you're asking if he used that for chalipin, if you soak it in kerosene, but then it's not a kli and it's not a peri, no? Wouldn't it be nothing?
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I think I don't know.
You don't have to
if that would
destroy
work.
it though.
It'd have to fall under one of those categories. So in Achanami, maybe it's not Asur Ba'anan anymore, but you turned it into garbage basically.
Fine.
But I don't understand something. What is the Gemara being medayik? Gershon, maybe what it's being medayik from the terminology of a star? I mean, it's not a pasuk. It's not a pasuk.
It's the star they wrote. They wrote this in the stars.
So what is that? That's halacha l'moshe Sinai. What they use as a star.
No, because Chazal set up the lashon of the star. So
I understand. So why can we maybe that star was set up by somebody the shitas that hold differently.
Well, whoever it was set up by, it has meaning. So to whoever set it up, that's
Good, but I'm
obviously
saying
how
so.
we use that lashon.
So is this lashon from the Tanaim? It's from the Amayra. Who's it from? Who created this lashon? I don't know. I'm saying we're having a machlokes Tanaim about some of these things, whether it's the kain or the makna. So maybe I'm just saying it's interesting that we're bringing proof. It's almost like we're dashing.
It could be that there were chalkim on whoever set up this lashon. But lamaisa, the fact that we use it means that it was the skabel that we paskin like that.
Right, because it says "Kaman kasvin ha'idna." How are we noyeg lamaisa? And then it is funny. It's a funny way of doing it, but instead of just saying hilchasa, but
yeah, it's interesting. We're almost dashing like a puzzle, going through word by word, saying, "Oh, this excludes that one, excludes that one, excludes that one." Okay, I mean, it's interesting.
Yesterday's Gemara was harder.
Strict constructionalists.
That must be what it is. It's almost like you take it's almost like you take the shtar mechira from a mechiras chametz and say, oh, I guess you could do that. You take the shtar mechira and go through. Oh, we're going to exclude this sheet to that sheet to this sheet to that sheet and that. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Okay,
but it's like in the Constitution. They're textualists. They read into the words,
right? Yeah, that's what you have to say. That's what you have to say.
I missed that.
You're giving it this chashivas. Okay. Weiter. Asimon kainas matbeya. So we said an asimon is kaina matbeya. So what is an asimon? So my asimon. Amarav mois hanitnos besimin lebeis hamerchatz. Right, it's money that's given as a siman in the Beis HaMerchatz. Basically, what it is like a token. Right, tokens, it's almost cholamayid. We have to. It's in Yonah Diyah. You get a token, right? You get a token, but whatever. It doesn't have any value. That's how they know. Okay, give me how many tokens you're gonna give me, right? Flush your money. So basically, it's the token for the bathhouse. If each person gives in their tokens, and then the guy knows how many towels he needs and how much he has to heat up the thing, etc., etc. So that's part of things. So when it's the kasha in mechal and ma'aser sheni ala simon, you're not allowed to be mechal ma'aser sheni onto a simon because it doesn't have any currency. It doesn't have any value. It has a value, but it doesn't have a set amount. So you can't take ma'aser sheni again when you instead of schlepping the fruits up to Yerushalayim, you want to put it onto money. So you can't do that. So you can't put it onto the money that's given to the Beis HaMerchatz. So you see that asimon and giving this coin to the Beis HaMerchatz are two different things. Right, and we just said that it's the same thing, right? We just said an asimon is the coin that you give in michlal. The asimon lamos, and this is similar to the Beis HaMerchatz. The asimon is not what you give to the Beis HaMerchatz. And if you say the brisa is coming to explain it, that's not the way we learned it, right? Because mechal and ma'aser sheni al asimon, Reb Daiser says you can put it onto asimon. And they both agree that we're not mechal on money that's given to a simon in the Beis HaMerchatz. So you see, it's clearly two different things. So it cannot be that asimon is the coin that they give in the Beis HaMerchatz. Elo Amar Rav Yochanan, my asimon pulsa, which is quite interesting that we just had pulsa on Amar Aleph in a totally different context, right? Pulsa denura, we said that that's what the Levi would have shot at the guy because he was upset. And here we're saying pulsa means it just means a piece of metal that wasn't yet stamped with currency.
That's what he's saying. Rashi teaches pulsa here.
What do you mean?
The teich of pulsa is b'chusar tzura. So it's the same teich by fire.
Right.
It's fire without a tzura. It blasts fire at you.
Yeah, that's interesting. Very good. Interesting. Okay, good. They say the same thing. What's Rabbi Shmuel? It says you should wrap up the money in your hand. The rabbis called davar hanitzra b'yad, anything that gets wrapped up in a hand. Meaning you can put Maisa Sheni onto anything that could be carried in a hand. Which means coins can be carried in a hand. So even if they don't have currency stamped on them yet, you still can make them into hektish. Meaning make them into Maisa Sheni. Rabbi Kiva Aimer the rabbis called over Sheyesh Alav Tzura. No, when it says Bitsarta, means that it has you can make your Maisa Sheni mechulal onto anything that has a Maisa Tzura on it, but not just a plain piece of metal. Okay, good. Let's do a little bit more. Ketzan Moshe Chamenu Paris.
So what is the difference between Asimon and Simon Lebeis Merchitz?
It doesn't sound like there's much of a difference.
I was waiting for you guys to ask that.
But there's the halacha. There's a difference. That was the brisa.
Right.
They're both just tokens.
Right. It means what's the practical difference?
I mean, Metziah wise, one's a blank and one is a token.
So is there?
The token has a tzura.
Really about that?
It
The
sounds
token
like
has a tzura, and yet they both agree that it doesn't work. Even
One
though that's one of the types of the
one doesn't work because it's not a real coin, and one doesn't work because it's not printed.
No, the
Two different
machlekes
Metziahs.
Tanakam Rabbi Shmuel is by the blank, because Rabbi Shmuel holds that tzarta means it has a tzura, and yet they both agree that if it has a tzura but it's a token, then it doesn't work. It sounds like a little bit cyclical.
Right. Okay. I'm not sure.
It's Taisus, second Taisus in the daf asks about the difference.
Second
The Mishnah.
Taisus.
It's Taisus' question.
Where? The Mishnah?
In
Back
the
in the
Mishnah,
Mishnah?
Asima, yeah. Taisus asks on around.
You mean way back in the beginning of the parak?
Yeah. He asked that question.
No recollection. I don't laugh, but whatever. Cry. I don't know what I should
He
do.
says
But
he says the difference between them is that an Asimain is basically ready to become a coin, and therefore it's almost it's looked at as if it's a coin. It's just missing a stamp, and it's easy to become a coin. So it's from Rav perspective, he looked at it as a coin. A matbeya, that's a token, is nothing. It's not ever going to become a coin.
I mean, it's okay. Interesting.
It's going to Rashi.
interesting.
Taisus is chaylik. Rabbeinu Tam is chaylik on what Asimain is.
Right. The second
Yeah.
answer. But it's interesting that way around, that technically the one for the base of Merchitz has more value because it's useful for something. The blank has no value because it's useless.
Right. Okay, let's see. There's a case on Paris. So we said, if a guy picks up the Paris, but he didn't pay for it, he can't change his mind, right? Because Mashiach is the more important one. If he gave money, then he could change his mind. And meaning he gave money, he didn't do Mashiach, he can change his mind. If he did Mashiach or Hagbah, even if there was no money given, then he cannot change his mind. Some of Yochanan Dvar Torah is kindness. The fourth time we're having this already, right? Minat Torah money is kindness, and we're named Ma'amru Mashiach kindness. Why do we say Dafka? You have to pull it. That your wheat got burned in the upstairs because he didn't care for it because he already got his money. So the Gemara asks, "Saif man to shut the lake by Shlume. Who cares? What we're so worried about that the guy's not going to watch the wheat because he already got his money and he already sold it. But the guy who made the fire is going to have to pay. Meaning, basically, it's like, what are you fighting over? Insurance is going to cover it, right? Basically, what the Gemara is asking. The Gemara says, maybe it's not going to be somebody doing it on purpose and be an einus. And Mamela nobody. So imuk muslay. Imuk muslay. If you're going to put the imuk muslay b'reshusay. If you're going to put it into the Zeshus, Masar Nafshe, Tarach Matzah, Masar Nafshe, very, very interesting Lashon. He's going to be Meiser Nefesh. I mean, he's not putting his life. We always use the word meiser nefesh as putting your life in like it's not a life in danger. Your mamish handing. He's going to hand over his soul to watch this wheat. Okay, masar nafshe tarach umatzel to save it. V'ilai, but if you don't make it that it's still owned by the seller, then loy masar nafshe tarach umatzel. He's not going to be meiser's nefesh to save it.
Yaakov, according to the way of Yochanan learning up, the Mashiach is only din derabanan.
What?
Let's say.
What do you say?
The Rabbanan, the Mashiach is a din deraisa? Is a kinyan deraisa?
No, according to Rav Yochanan, no, Rav Yochanan is not.
Yeah, that's what I just said. I don't know. I got a exasperated sound from Gershon. I don't know. I assume that's what the Gemara means. The Gemara says that Rav Yochanan says Mashiach is a din derabanan.
That was just the cholent Gershon, the leftover cholent he had for supper.
So
my mic was off. I made no sound.
So according to that, what would come out, like if I do a Mashiach, let's say a Gazlan steals something, he does a Kenyan Mashiach through the Gzela. How do we ever look at it as, let's say, Kimle Dravine, that you should have a din of your putter from the Gzela part, because you're, let's say, on Shabbos,
I don't know.
whatever it is. It's the din derabanan that you're kind of such a thing. There's no din deraisa that you should be kind of.
Who says it's like that by Geneva?
Well, didn't we have a case where you steal something from a Rosh Yachid into let's say whatever kinyanim of Mashiach work, but that should only be din derabanan. You shouldn't be kind of deraisa. So make a case you have Kimle Dravine and such a thing.
I hear, like, if you're gonna say that, but I'm not so sure you say it by Geneva. Does
Rav Yochanan hold Mashiach as derabanan, or he just says in a case where you only give money, the Chachamim said that that's not going to work, even though it works from the Torah, and you have to do a Mashiach? But the case in the Mishnah is the guy's giving the money and he's not doing a Mashiach. So Rav Yochanan says even though the Deraisa works, you have to do Mashiach. But does that mean Mashiach? It's hard to hear Mashiach is only derabanan.
Mashiach is a Kenyan deraisa.
All right. It's just in a scenario where Mashiach wasn't done. Rav Yochanan says, "Be'etzem it works deraisa." Just the Chachamim said you got to do the Mashiach in order to actually make whatever.
Because if a Mashiach would have happened here without moist, we wouldn't have the kasha. There's no problem.
Right.
He has the wheat.
Yeah.
The only problem is when he only gave the kasha and didn't do a Mashiach.
Right. Okay, but anyway, so that's the shittas of Yochanan, right? Rish Lakish disagrees. Rish Lakish on Mashiach mefereshes min haTorah. Mashiach says beferish in the Torah that it works. My time of the Rish Lakish. Amar Kravasi chisim karumim kala misecha economy adam misecha. If somebody sells something to somebody from his nation, a yid, or he's kana something from yad misecha, davar nikne miyad liyad. That's something that there's a kinyan goes miyad liyad, right? For Rabbi Yochanan Amar miyad lemeute karka comes to exclude karka the less lay oina that doesn't have oina. Right, meaning there's no oina on karka. I mean, you can rip somebody off on karka, which is a good thing because that's what people do. For Rish Lakish, imkein lichtov, that's not a good thing. They rip them off, but there's no oina on karka. Rish Lakish, imkein lichtov krovichisim karu mimka miyad amisecha al soinu. Right, but don't just say that part of the pasuk. What do you need the oikana for? Oikana lameli, right? A memkar is a mechira. Why do you need a purchase? Shema mino lemashicha. It's coming to teach us that there's such a thing as mashicha. For Rabbi Yochanan, oikana my avidle. Why does he need oikana? Look at the Tanya v'chisim karumim karu al sainu. Ainli elashen is not shen is ana lekeach. That's only if there's aina on the lekeach, meaning where the buyer was ripped off, right? Where the buyer. Right, that's the standard. That the buyer was ripped off. Nis'anem meicher, but how do you know if the meicher got ripped off? Meaning the guy just underpaid him. How do you know that such a concept of that? Oikana al sainu, oikana al sainu for the shlokish. Tarti gomar minei. We can learn out two things from there. So that's it. So basically, that's the machlokes. Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan holds Mashiach is the Rabbanon, and Rish Lakish holds Mashiach is Doiraisa. Okay, well, so I got to stop over there because I got to pop back in this bar mitzvah. So, but it's a whole long sugya. So we'll stop it over there.
Shikoyach Mazel Tov.
Shkoyach, we'll say it till him.
Who's making the bar mitzvah?
Shalom.
It's a whole long bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
The
No,
whole
now it's just like
long sugya, the whole long bar mitzvah.
now it's just a simchas chasam akala. So I mean, I'm not really you know. Anyway, all right. Pei gimel. Yashir mizmor la'asaf elim adam melach atechrosh atishkoit el ki inei vecha yemanu masanecha nasurosh alam chayirim masar yisrael tzol tzvanecha amru lechu ben achidim begoy v'lo yizach b'shem yisrael oid ki noitzu le'yachta v'lecha b'ris yichraisu halei adam yishmeil v'yov v'agrim gvol v'amoin v'amolik pleshus v'yosh v'tzor gam ashon v'ayim ha'yisrael v'nei leitzela Asayelum Kimidrian Kisiso Kiyam Nachakisha Nishmedu Vendora Yudam Eladoma. She summoned the Vemakoi Kuzev Kuzel Tamuna Konisichem, Sharamon Shalom is no Selihim. Eliashi Semikagago, Kikash Lefnei Ruach, Kesh Tavaryoch, Lavatai Tarim. Came to the Vemisarach, who was the first of Alem, Alefin, Konvak Shimcha, Denoi, Evoshi Bolo Adea for Yahru, Yavedu, Yedu Kiatashim Hadrel Vadecha, Yona Kol Oretz. Achena Kobeis Yisrael and Asum Basar Shivi, I'm the Bame Yom Bame Bosham, Akim and Achim Eliam. Yitzim it's all the Racham and Fail Lar Mashiba the Gula Hashtal Bagalo Man Kariv and Iman Amen. All right, yes, Shikayach everybody. Okay. A good night. Yeah.
You mentioned Cholamayid. I'm surprised you didn't give us all the bracha that we should need an Asiman Erev Yom Tov for the Nesachim and we had in Pesachim, right?
Yes. Yeah.
They paid the first
I
guy
wasn't
and
thinking that.
they got an Asiman.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Well,
all
you
right.
can still give us the bracha.
That's true. Be'ezus Hashem will have Mashiach. Yes. Amen. Yes. That's yeah. All right.
Mazel tov, enjoy.
Thank you.
Shikayach.
Perfect.